From the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. First up from Boston, it's the Celtics looking to force a Game 6 against the Knicks. No Jason Tatum. He had surgery yesterday for a ruptured Achilles tendon. 4 o'clock tip on TNT and Max. Coverage on 910 ESPN Portland will start at 3:30. Those Celtics are still 4.5-point favorites. Then the Timberwolves, 10.5-point favorites at home, trying to put away the Warriors, who are still without Steph Curry. 6:30 tip. That is also on TNT and Max. Over in the NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Ravens and Derrick Henry have agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension, $25 million guaranteed. It's the largest deal in league history for a running back over the age of 30. And rubber match for the Mariners and Yankees this afternoon at T-Mobile Park. Luis Castillo on the bump for Seattle. Will Warren for New York. 1:10 first pitch on Root Sports. The Mariners start the day a game and a half ahead of the A's for the AL West lead. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com. It's time to tee off with Danny and Dusty.
I had 5 birdie chances, and I didn't sink a single one.
Wait, you had 5 birdie opportunities and shot 100, and you're claiming you had only one blow-up hole? Would you shoot a 50 on that hole?
It's PGA Championship Week with Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club, the best course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080 The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Danny and Dusty with you. Happy Wednesday. Playing injured today.
Got a backiotomy?
Nope. It was my kid has a Nintendo Switch.
Indeed. You dove in.
Mm-hmm. And he wanted to play 2K on the big TV last night. So I go to set that up, and we have because flat screen TVs, the speakers suck.
Oh, you have to.
They need to fix
bar.
that.
Yeah, no,
they need to fix that.
Well, there's nowhere just to put them.
Yeah, well, we have these 2 tower speakers that are on the mantle.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch thing falls off the mantle. Speaker comes flying down, hits me in the back of the head.
Oh.
Wobbled me. Legit, I have a knot on the back of my head. It wobbled me.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, didn't see it coming, just right on the back of the old noggin.
No preparation or anything.
No. The family probably saw it coming. They were all looking, and they're just like, well, no.
That's going to happen.
Dad might be dead.
Well, it's one of those where you see it happen in slow motion and you're just going, oh, no.
I mean, something would have been great.
Or you're
just something.
Possibly a sick person, you just lean back and watch it happen.
I think that's what all 3 of them did. I think that's what they did.
Hoping that life insurance policy is up to date.
Well, they heard those commercials on the Fan. They're like, hey, the ones that were running during prime time randomly.
There's make sure that there's no DNR on there, right? We're just gonna move on.
Yeah, I found it odd that I said they said it didn't work, and I was like, wait, what? But I got it. It got me. I thought I was concussed for a little bit because
you could have been.
I went woof. Had a little bit of a headache, but we're here today.
Getting smacked in the head, underrated. How long it can last?
Yeah, it was top back of the head. It's a weird spot to get hit. I don't know if I've ever been hit there before, and it just got me just bam from a little bit of a distance. I was not expecting it.
We aren't talking tower speakers of old though that are made of solid wood and the magnets in them weigh 13 pounds.
No,
you know what I'm talking about.
No, these ones are from China.
Oh, okay.
So they're plastic.
Oh, okay.
But heavy plastic.
Yeah. I had the stereo in the room when I was a kid with the big tuner with the 6-disc changer, and then the heavy wire to 2.5 foot tall Each one had two 10s or two 12s in it.
What?
Solid wood case with those, like, you had a forceful 2-hand lift.
Yeah.
To get them up.
Yeah, we all know those speakers.
Oh yeah. And I was gonna say, if it was one of those,
Nah,
yeah,
that one.
you're out today.
No, I probably would be dead.
You're out today.
They would have finished me off with that one. Like that one would have been, that one would have really taken me out. But moral of the story: why can't we have a flat screen TV with good speakers?
You just don't have the space.
I don't think that that's true.
I mean, you can if you like build them in.
But then
it has to be a lot bigger.
But does it?
Yeah.
It doesn't though, because
But
the
also
sound bars. No, it doesn't, because the sound bars don't take up a lot of space. They don't.
It's more. No, I'm saying it's more depth, not necessarily width, but more depth.
I'm just saying, why can't you make a TV with the sound bar on it?
I mean, there are ones that are out there,
but they're not like
but they're
none
dumb,
of
they're
them
dumb
are
expensive.
good.
But
none of them are good.
I've got the add-on sound bar that's like made for my TV kind of a deal. It slides directly underneath it and it looks like it's a part of it. And then it has two Bluetooth subwoofers, one for each side. So it does its job, but especially if you're trying to get like bass in anything, you can't do it in a flat screen.
Well,
because you have to have the cabinet for it to get the bass.
See, but we have computers in our pockets now that are strong enough to land somebody on the moon, and we can't put a good speaker in a TV.
That's what I'm saying.
You need space. It's a space thing.
But again, it isn't, because the sound bars don't take up much space.
Well, no, I'm saying with this, it's not just the sound bar, because if you just do the sound bar, you're just going to get the trebles and the highs, and you're not going to get the lows, and you have to have something additional anyways. I guess you can make it sound a little bit better for sure.
I think you are taking this way too far. If you want to have like a great, huge sound system and you need that, all I'm saying is don't give me the crap that you put in there right now.
The tinny stuff, yeah, no, I agree with you on that part. But
just give me a soundbar. If I want to get the subwoofer, I'll get a subwoofer.
I mean, you have to.
No, you don't.
You know,
really don't.
I like the helicopter to land in my house.
I got a pretty decent little inexpensive Bose soundbar that does the trick just fine. Got a decent enough bass in there.
No. Well, if you for me, the test for the sound bar or whatever sound you're running, Black Hawk Down.
Oh,
Black Hawk Down is like the because you get the quiet where you can hear the crisp audio. You have the explosions. You have like the deep into it gunfire, but also they have that scene where they're going out over Somalia with just the helicopter sound, and you get that whoop, 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 and it just, oh God, I love that. Like I said, I like the helicopter to land in my living room.
I don't like war movies loud.
Oh, are you serious? Oh
no.
I've got the new movie Warfare. I haven't seen it yet. I bought it last night. It's available to buy on the digital marketplace, and that's tonight's deal. And I'm going to black out my entire living room and crank up the sound, and just my wife is going to hate it.
Good for you.
Yeah,
I'm happy for you.
She knows it's coming.
That's a good adventure for you today.
Yeah, when we watched the Tom Segura's got his new special out, Bad Thoughts. It's a bunch of episodes of just like intrusive thoughts. Mm-hmm. Fantastic, love it. As we've talked about intrusive thoughts recently, it's unhinged as hell, but very funny.
Yeah, it's Tom Segura.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of who he is.
Yeah, no,
as a human.
There was a jump laugh that came out of that. I can't say it on radio. It got a 30-second cackle out of me where I couldn't control. I don't think I've laughed that hard like at an original comedy kind of thing since Chappelle's Show.
Mm. You have a very loud laugh, too.
Oh, I do.
You have a very, very loud laugh.
And I've had people
not the loudest that we've had even here.
No, I have my chuckles, but when I laugh. Be like, oh, it's so forced. I'm like, no, dude, I'm just loud. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just have a loud laugh. Same with my sneeze. My sneeze is very loud.
It makes sense, though, that you need the loudspeakers. Maybe it's a hearing thing.
Hearing's great. So before I came here, I worked at a manufacturing center, and they used to come in and do our bass lines and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm so blind, my ears do great.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't say great anymore. Tinnitus in the left ear, but that happens when you discharge a firearm
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of times.
So not great.
No, just
But great.
Hearing great, but the tinnitus pops up.
Yeah.
So the hearing spectrum still fantastic.
All right.
They have like a little line that it goes, and mine was well above average. And I was like, all right, cool. Something still works.
All right.
I got that going for me.
Yeah.
Check back in 3 years when the tinnitus doesn't stop.
Yeah. You're going to be a cranky old man.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be real cranky.
I've got a family friend who quite literally the tinnitus does not stop. It's there all the time. And I'm like, oh, that's a particular kind of hell that I don't want anything to do with.
No.
That just seems like, how do you live?
I don't know. I don't know how, some of that stuff is, you just go every day.
It's just a
every
constant
day ringing in your ears.
in your ear.
Like it's not sciatica, it's some else, but like there's people that have this like constant tingling in their feet.
Yeah, that like
that would be awful.
The nerve stuff, man. Oh God.
Yeah.
I've had the very uncomfortable conversation with my wife of like, if I get X, Y, or Z, do not keep me alive. I don't want to.
Tingling in your feet is
well,
one?
no, that's not one of them.
Buddy, with your medical history,
yeah, it's probably gonna happen.
You're gonna be ending it pretty soon.
You got till about Friday.
Yeah, I was saying. Well, the good news is at some point in time they'll probably just amputate below the knee, and it'll be the phantom limb syndrome that I have to deal with.
Danny's like, I want to be 6'8" with robotic legs, please.
Well, hell, if you just made my legs match my upper body, I'd be like 6'4". But no, like my wife was like, please don't tell me. I'm like, no. I want you to know this, and I'm gonna put it like in writing in my will when I want the plug pulled. Like I don't want to live that life. Like some people say they do, and I'm just like, nah, man.
Yeah,
that is not for me.
The house we grew up in used to be backed up like to some wetlands, and my stepdad always used to say, hey, when it comes that time, just take me out to the wetlands. They moved, and we're like, well, where do I take you now? You know? He's like, just still the wetlands. Just throw me out there. let me wander. So whoever's living in that house, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
He totally it's just some old man wandering around your wetlands back there.
Just waving.
Yeah. You don't want going home. Just put him in the wetlands.
Just go full naked and afraid.
Yeah, just, who's this old guy? Don't worry about him.
You just unlock something for a squirrel moment here. Wife and I were watching a show. A commercial came on for Naked and Afraid. And you know what that show is, right?
Yeah.
Drop you off naked in the middle of the wilderness. They're doing one in Australia.
That doesn't sound
I can't
safe.
think of a worse place to be naked.
Well, they'd get the afraid part right.
Oh, God. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. Everything wants to kill you. The
Yeah.
bugs, the animals, the wildlife, the flora, everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, look, the Amazon rainforest is horrible. And I would like if you did it anywhere in North America, I could actually be okay with it.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't enjoy it, but if you're telling me I could win $50,000 to survive a week, 10 days, 2 weeks with minimal stuff, I know I could do it. I'd be miserable, but I could do it.
Just got to keep that one snake away from all the other snakes.
Right? That's the priority. But you put me in Australia or like the Amazon rainforest, nah, man. I'd rather do like the sub-Saharan regions.
You ought to
like,
stay on my couch.
Put me in the middle of Africa over Australia or the Amazon.
I think they should throw a curveball one of those seasons and put him just on like a very public nude beach in Portugal or something.
just
be
drop him
like,
in Europe.
Yeah, you're basically just a naked homeless person on this nude beach. And how are you going to survive? Just like see that, like, because they can't like live off the land.
No, there's nothing.
So
there.
they'd have to like scavenge and go and like steal food from beachgoers who are also naked, chasing them around.
It turns into Euro trip.
Like
Girl.
You really want to make this kick it up a notch and raise the stakes. Put them in a very public place. We're putting them out in the wilderness where they have to live off the land. I say nay. Put them in our modern
no
times
land to live off of?
on a nude beach where they're going to have to lie, cheat, and steal to get all that food that they're going to survive on.
That's harder for me.
Right?
That's infinitely harder.
See?
You put me in the wilderness. Like, look, I mean, I did survival school. I literally did this in, a couple feet of snow in the middle of winter
I'd
up on the
just be
Canadian
dead.
border.
Not naked though.
I mean, I might as well.
Naked's a game changer.
So I don't know how I did it still to this day. I packed all my summer gear for survival school. I had my jungle boots, which for those that are unaware, they're your canvas as opposed to being a thicker leather that doesn't have a bunch of seams in it or that water can just pour into. So I had my jungle boots. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
Yeah, this is a very Danny story, though. How you get into these situations, and you're like, I don't know how this happened. It's like, well,
I'm usually prepared for stuff like that kind of thing. I'm usually I don't know if I just grabbed the wrong A bag and just
I have no idea what that means.
big green bag.
Okay.
But it had all of my summer BDU battle dress uniform, which is like it's a much lighter weight. It had like on my Under Armour layers and stuff like that. None of them were long sleeve. And so it's like 10 degrees and I'm in like 4 feet of snow because they drop you off in the middle of the wilderness south of the Canadian border. And this was February. So I'm like, if you just go Spokane direct north up towards the mountains
it's
and the
not
border,
great.
Brother, I was struggling.
Ooh, here's a good text. Naked and Afraid, Portland.
I mean, that's
just
every
drop
day.
them. No. Each group starts
At a different homeless camp?
Nope.
Oh.
I'll get there.
Okay.
They start in the naked bike ride.
Oh.
And each group randomly has spike strips thrown out in different parts of Portland. You got to survive in a different part of Portland based on where the show runners want you to be.
Oh.
Huh?
And it all depends on where the camps are at. I don't know if you noticed around here lately.
I don't know,
what
man.
was once gone has once again returned.
But it all starts...
I saw yesterday they were cleaning them up again, though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It starts with the naked bike ride, and they're like, oh, this is going to be so fun. What a different twist to this. Wrong! You're stranded.
Mm.
Yeah. All right.
It's more
I'm into
accepted
that.
here, certainly.
Yeah.
Like if you did like Naked and Afraid and they dropped them off in Salina, Kansas, I think it would go significantly worse.
They, I don't know if they changed this law, but down in Ashland, they used to have like public nudity was widely accepted. And in the summer, there'd be like old people playing tennis butt naked.
You're kidding.
Yeah. At the school. So like right behind where our weight room was, like come out of the weight room and be like, wait a minute.
You thought maybe I'll go get another set?
It was not, they weren't always the people that you.
It's not the people you want to see naked.
They were not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was like, okay.
I couldn't imagine just being out there just raw dog and pickleball.
Boy, you take one bad step,
Oof.
that could go really wrong for you. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Your backhand or your forehand, watch out now. Watch out now. All right. Let's get this show on the road. Ben Golliver is going to join us today.
Mm-hmm.
Washington Post NBA writer. He was in the room for the lottery.
He was.
I'm going to ask him, was it rigged? But first question, Ben, was it rigged? Yes or no? He will join us at 12:30. We'll talk not just lottery, but I don't know. The Blazers are selling.
Yeah, it's Ben kind of knows a thing or two about the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah. And so we have a little bit of news on that, and that's where we'll start this bad boy off. 503-864-6326. That's the fan text line. This is Danny Dusty.
gonna pay.
We do not know who the next owner of the Portland Trailblazers will be, but we do know who it won't be.
Sweet Jesus, thank him for just getting this over with.
Phil Knight will not be the next owner of the Portland Trailblazers.
There you go, everybody. It's done. It's over with. Stop bringing his name up.
He spoke to Mike Vorkunov.
Yep. The Athletic.
Of the Athletic. And he said, 5 years ago, when I was a younger man, I had great interest in being part of the Portland Trailblazers franchise. However, at my current age, I can confirm that I no longer have interest.
Yeah, that younger man's doing a lot of heavy lifting for a then 82-year-old and then an 84-year-old 3 years ago when he talked about it too.
Yeah, he's sharp. He still is sharp.
Oh yeah, no, he's got his faculties.
Still looks really good. If I get to 87, I
and
hope
look
I
like
look
that. Yeah. I mean, I've seen him moving around at Duck games. Like he's still got some pep in his step.
You know what sucks about that? He's a lifelong runner.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, what is he doing? Damn.
Keith Richards.
So there's that. All right. I think that there is a bummer in that because even 5 years ago, Phil Knight being the owner of the Portland Trailblazers, it would not have had the impact of Phil Knight, who was the visionary of Nike.
Yeah.
Because he was so hands-on with everything that he did in building Nike up that you wouldn't be able to get that from even, as he says, a younger man 5 years ago at 82. Just the energy that it takes to do that, not possible. What I think I would have appreciated at any level 5 years ago or now is that Phil Knight would have bought that team with the intentions that it never leaves this damn city or this state ever, full stop. And that would be the peace of mind for Blazer fans because, look, the reality of it is outside of Phil Knight, there's nobody else with $4 billion in this state that can do that.
Well, there are people with that money, but that's every penny that they have. When you talk about the CEO of Dutch Brothers or Tim Cook, who I don't think is actually at that level now. I think he's relatively close, but like
that would be of the Columbia Sportswear.
Yeah, and then you've got Jensen Huang, who has we talked about yesterday, has had no interest in sports. But yeah, that's what we talk about when you talk about Oregon and even Northwest. Like when you go into Seattle, even then it's when you're talking about this kind of money, it's an infinitesimally small list of humans on this planet who can be like, yeah, no, that's fine, $4 billion.
Yeah. Well, Phil is out. Phil is out.
Mm-hmm. So we can move past that.
Still bully Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
Just say sell your stake in the Mavs.
Yeah.
Come up here. We promise we won't trade a star because we don't have one to trade.
Yeah, see?
We don't even have one to trade.
Yeah. Mold the clay.
Yeah, like we'll be okay, dude. Like you don't have to worry about it. Like we won't trade Luka. We don't have one.
And you could have if you want to collect superstar white dudes, you can do that in Oregon too.
Sure. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what they look like.
I don't either, but apparently it's
just give me any superstar.
Dirk, Luka, Flag.
Yeah, I don't care.
Nash.
I have zero care. Just give me a superstar. That's all I want. That's all I want.
That franchise going from one to another
all
is
I want.
super frustrating.
Yeah. Well, the NBA is not rigged.
No. Not at all.
To discuss that, we bring on Beaverton Zone.
Hey. You're outnumbered big time now.
Well, he not only did he go to Beaverton High School, but then he went on to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
He's Johnny Hopkins.
Yeah. Used to get high with Johnny Hopkins.
In high school. Ben Golliver will join us. He was in the room when the lottery numbers were drawn for the NBA draft lottery. And also, because he's from Beaverton, he's an alumni of BlazersEdge.com as well.
He is.
Now he's with the Washington Post, and he talks about the Blazers sale and all things NBA. Ben Golliver, after Rust, with SportsCenter. Go get him.
This is a PGA Championship Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on the Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. First up in Boston, Celtics looking to force a Game 6 against the Knicks. No Jason Tatum. He had surgery yesterday for a ruptured Achilles tendon. 4 o'clock tip on TNT and Max. Coverage on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 3:30. The Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. Then the Timberwolves, 10.5-point favorites at home, trying to put away the Warriors, who are still without Steph Curry. He has been greenlit for some light conditioning, though. So at this point right now, he still has a possibility of playing in Game 6. That's a 6:30 tip tonight, also on TNT and Max. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Ravens and Derrick Henry have agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension, $25 million guaranteed. That's the largest deal in league history for a running back over the age of 30. And rubber match for the Mariners and Yankees this afternoon at T-Mobile Park. Luis Castillo opposite Will Warren, 1:10 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's Sports Leader, 1080, The Fan.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
DQ presents how to hit summer's sweet spot. The new DQ Summer Blizzard Treat menu is here. And as the official treat of MLB, we're swinging big with our fan favorite S'mores Blizzard Treat. Plus, new mixing bowl mashup with brownie batter and chocolate chip cookie dough. And even more in our Stack Summer lineup. Hurry in today because nothing says summer like baseball and our new Summer Blizzard Treat menu. Right now at DQ. Happy tastes good. Participation may vary.
NBA doesn't stop. They got the playoffs going on right now. The NBA draft lottery happened on Monday, and the Portland Trailblazers are for sale. So we bring in Ben Golliver, Washington Post NBA writer, the author of Bubble Ball as well.
Indeed.
And a damn fine and proud Beaverton High alum. Ben, how's it going, man?
Going very well, guys. Reporting live here from Minneapolis, getting ready for Game 5 tonight. The playoffs are getting good, man. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. And I've got a question for you. I promised the listeners right out of the gate. You were in the room for the draft lottery. Is the draft lottery rigged, Ben?
Not that I can tell, but, these weird results keep popping up. I understand why everybody's thinking twice about it. I felt so bad for the Blazers fans. I mean, another year where it comes down to the final ping pong ball. One number off, they could have had Cooper Flagg. I think he would have had a chance to really emerge as a franchise player in Portland, and I think the market would have loved him. He's such a hard-playing guy, amazing defensive presence, but also a talented scorer. And instead, now he has to go walk in Luka Doncic's cowboy boots, right, down there in Dallas. So crazy turn of events. Not only did Dallas jump up, San Antonio jumped up. So that sparks all the rumors about maybe they're going to trade for Giannis. It was one thing after another. Philly kept their pick when it looked like they might lose their pick. It was the wildest of all the lottery drawings that I've witnessed. I was hearing people just, basically, not shout profanities, but let profanities out as the ping pong balls were coming because they couldn't believe their eyes. They couldn't believe the results.
Now, when you sent the tweet that the Blazers were one ball off, in your mind, were you thinking actively like this is going to hurt so many souls in Portland right now?
Well, it's actually become like an annual gimmick. I don't love to do it, but this has happened over and over, guys. I mean, it's not my fault. Don't shoot the messenger. That's the rule, right? We know it got really close with Wembanyama. But, the one thing I can say is misery loves company. It's not just you guys. The Wizards have also come very consistently close to the number one pick in all three of the last drafts. And so their fans are right there suffering with Blazers fans when it comes to that ping pong ball luck.
Ben, obviously the news drops yesterday morning that the Allen estate is putting the Trailblazers up officially for sale. What was your kind of first thought process, and where do you think this thing is headed, and where do you think this thing ultimately ends up?
Well, I just love the timing of it. If they do win the lottery, maybe you're not selling, maybe you're holding out for a better offer, maybe you're waiting a little bit. So you want to make sure that you don't have that amazing asset, to kind of, maybe goose the purchase price a little bit. I think with the Celtics, it's kind of the reverse, right? They sell before this Jason Tatum injury for $6.1 billion. I wonder what the price would be, honestly, right now, where they're looking at, a second round exit, Tatum being out all of next season, and all of that. I wonder if that would have impacted the final price for the Celtics. These are kinds of questions you have to ask in a league where the superstar level players drive so much of the marketing and so much of the financial aspect of the game. Obviously, I think it's a day long coming. I think I've been pretty critical of Joey Allen over the years. I think when you're the owner, you have a real obligation to communicate with the media, communicate with the fan base, explain your vision, be a public face of that organization, rally the troops during tough years. Sort of like we saw Mark Cuban do over the years with the Dallas Mavericks, always trying to cultivate that fan base. And it's just been MIA, and radio silence from her. I just don't think you can be a successful organization in a league that's as competitive as the NBA without an owner at the top who is all in, completely invested, and, willing to take the lumps when times are bad and willing to be out front when the times are good. So I think even though we don't really know at this point who the leading candidates would be to buy the Blazers, I saw the report that Phil Knight's no longer interested. I mean, that's unfortunate. That feels like a real missed opportunity, for the franchise a few years ago. But to me, it's a positive, welcome development because the current regime was stuck in its ways, and its ways were not working.
Ben Golliver is our guest, Washington Post national NBA writer. Obviously, when a team goes for sale in a small market like Portland, and especially since we saw just up the road in Seattle what happened when they sold, there's the apprehension. Adam Silver's made it clear they don't want to be in the business of moving teams anymore. What is your sense of around the league and not to kind of maybe, I don't know, squash the fears of this team leaving?
Well, I think, first of all, we haven't seen a team move in quite a while. It's been almost 20 years since the Sonics moved. The Kings flirted with it, but they didn't move. There was some talk about the Pelicans. Maybe they would move, and they didn't move. And so it has been a while since we've, seen a relocation. And so I think that should comfort some people. I think at the same time, you never take a great fan base for granted. Obviously, Blazers fans have been through it all, and it's been a long-standing franchise in that market. And so that's a real asset. If you're an owner, you want to buy a team that has public support, that is, a major pillar of the city. That makes it attractive. You don't want one of these organizations where, you're like the fourth horse in a 14 town, right? Like that is a much tougher business proposition. And I think the other thing that could benefit, Blazers fans or kind of calm their nerves is the idea of expansion. There's some real talk that this summer things could heat up a little bit, and maybe we're finally going to see a team in Vegas and a team in Seattle, that process kind of really beginning after so many years of being teased. When you go back and look at, some of the major checkpoints the NBA had talked about, they wanted to get a new collective bargaining agreement deal done, and they wanted a new media rights deal done. Well, they got both of those done. Then the Celtics sell for a record $6.1 billion. So that looks like a nice target, if you're trying to come up with how much you're going to charge for an expansion team, right? So you add all those things up, the business is quite good for the NBA right now. It makes sense to expand. And if you have two new teams coming in, well, that's two obvious markets that wouldn't be in play for the Portland Trailblazers, right? And so I think from that standpoint, people should be relatively, in a good place about it. But, there are some holdups, right? I mean, there's been a lot of challenges with the television deal there locally. The arena is one of the, at this point, one of the older arenas, even though I know they've done a lot of modifications and upgrades to it over the years. So those are factors that people should consider, in terms of exactly how much is this team going to, sell for, like what the price will be. But ultimately, like, you don't want to leave a great basketball market. And to me, I mean, I travel city to city, all year long, especially during the playoffs. And Blazers fans bring it just as well as anybody does. And I don't think you want to take that for granted.
Well, Ben, on the basketball side of things, when you look at the kind of the events that have transpired in the last 72 hours, obviously the Blazers fall back to pick number 11, and then the next day the sales announced. In leading up into this, the Blazers ownership extended both general manager Joe Cronin and head coach Chauncey Billups. When you look at now the team being sold, what do you look at as far as how much wiggle room, leeway, things that they can do to improve the team? Because if you look at the team right now, there's only 3 guys that are under contract currently, not counting UFAs, RFAs, and options, club options, for the club in the 2026-27 season. And so that seems like they're trying to keep the books as clear as possible. But if you're talking about building this team out, you have to decide on Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson and Denny Avdia and Toumani Camara, and you have so many decisions to make. What kind of impact do you think the potential sale actually puts on that?
Well, you don't know until you know who the buyer is, right? Because we've seen some buyers come in, like Matt Ishbia from the Phoenix Suns, who had no ties to Phoenix. He's a Michigan guy, and he decides, let's trade the entire farm for Kevin Durant like 3 days onto the job, right? And so I think typically what the new owners do look for, though, is they want the flexibility factor. And, they tend to want a little bit of a continuation or a continuity, I should say. And so I think that's why the extensions help. Like, whoever's buying the team knows who's going to be in charge. And often, I mean, Ishbia is like, the exception to the rule. Typically, the new owners want to have like a year evaluation period where they get their feet wet, they understand how the NBA works. A lot of times they get really excited to come to every single game, go in the locker room, take pictures with the players. They do all that kind of new owner stuff, right? And then they really get serious about how they want to run the team. And so I think not having tons of long-term contracts, I think that is viewed as a benefit to potential, prospective owners. The last thing you want is like some supermax contract for a guy who's injured, that's going to clog up the books and make it hard for you to put your own stamp on the team. And then I think, despite the fact that those guys have extensions, I think everybody knows when a new owner comes in, typically they want to get their own people, who they trust to run the organization. And so it winds up that first season becomes a prove-it year. So let's just be very honest about this. I mean, the sale can take a long time. The Celtics one dragged out for all the way past the All-Star break, even though they announced it last summer that they were going to sell. And then there's going to be a transition period for the new owner. And then, that person's really going to feel probably up to speed in their second year. And so I think if you're a Blazers fan, you have to, be realistic and expect some choppiness here over the next couple of years. Now, if I was in Joe Cronin's position, what I want to do in the middle of that transition is really prioritize the young players, right? Not only do I want to make sure they get a lot of minutes, but I want to make sure I get those guys under longer-term contracts, that the guys who I truly feel are part of the core, because you have to do this now as like a 2, 3, 4-year type window. You're not necessarily in that like 1 year, year-to-year mentality of like, how can we get into the playoffs? I don't think that's quite your goal here. I think you want to be great longer term for the next ownership group, right? So identify your best young players, make sure they're under some longer term contracts than you described, and that's how you go forward. And if that means you have to trade some of the higher priced veterans, or you just move on from some of those guys, that's how I would handle things.
You mentioned Matt Ishbia, and being a new owner is really tough. It's a tough business to wrap your head around. Professional sports, there's only so many teams available to own in various sports. What, as you kind of look from your view, being in a national writer now, for a new owner, what traits do you feel make a good new owner to a franchise?
Well, to me, the most important thing is love for the game, and that's why I kind of have harped on Jody Allen. We have no idea, what her relationship to basketball is. She's just inheriting this team from Paul Allen. It was so clear that Paul Allen genuinely loved basketball, right? Now, he made some silly decisions along the way. Everybody will. But, I mean, he was making it popular, running up huge luxury tax bills way before all these current owners were doing it, right? He was a trailblazer in that front, no pun intended. So I think love for the game translates to financial support, not only when you're talking about your players, but you're looking at your medical staff, your coaching staff, running a first-class operation that players want to be a part of and stick around, building a culture. It starts with the owner loving basketball and having that team be a high priority in their life. And so Matt Ishbia has made a lot of mistakes down there in Phoenix, but one thing you can't question is the fact that this guy loves basketball. And so sometimes maybe he loves it a little too much. You almost have to kind of reel him in a little bit. So that's why another top characteristic would be self-awareness. You want owners who know what they know and also know what they don't know. And, are willing to trust their executives to make the kinds of industry decisions that maybe they're not as familiar with, right? You want to strike a good balance there. I think the Celtics ownership group has been a phenomenal example of this. They were so invested in the Celtics that they realized even a franchise legend like Danny Ainge wasn't getting it done anymore. And they made a big swing to, basically part with Danny Ainge, bring in Brad Stevens. And nobody's done a better job than Brad Stevens around the league over the last 5 years, except maybe Sam Presti, right? And they've really trusted him to make those types of decisions. And, of course, they've spent the money to support him. So, and it paid off with the championship last year, right? So I think that's a great model for what you're looking for in an owner. You want people involved in the idea of basketball being great and being a priority, but you don't want them to be meddlesome. That's sort of the right balance to strike. And hopefully Portland can find a group like that. But I'll say this, it's getting harder and harder to do this because so many of these teams are now selling for so much money that it can't just be one person who buys the team, right? Like Steve Ballmer's got $2 billion just sitting around, so he could buy the Clippers, no problem. Most people don't have that, right? They have to bring in minority investors. They have to bring in partners. They have to take private equity money. And all of that stuff it adds more cooks to the kitchen and makes things more difficult. And I think that's something to consider in Portland, too. It's not like there's a whole bunch of billionaires just sitting around in Portland waiting to, spend all of their money on a basketball team. And so that could, lead to a situation where there is like kind of a conglomeration that buys it, right? Or it could lead to a situation where it's just an out-of-town owner. And either one of those, it just presents different challenges if you're the Blazers, right? Yeah. Especially if you're a fan who was used to Paul Allen, who was at every single game, who was fully committed to the city, who built the arena in the 90s and all that kind of stuff. It can just be different when you have outside ownership groups. One example of that's Milwaukee. They had two guys from New York who were running the team. They were taking private jets back and forth to the game. It worked out okay. I mean, they won a championship in 2021, but one of those owners wound up selling his stake, and he's already out because, he just figured, hey, this was a good investment. I'm not really in this for the long haul. The city of Milwaukee was not his priority. And so that's something you have to worry about, right? Like if the hedge fund guys come, the private equity guys come, you got to wonder, is Portland their priority, or are they just trying to flip an organization and make a quick buck?
Well, you just explained when you want a new owner, you're trying to find a unicorn. Now we need to find a whole herd of unicorns because there's multiple investors. Seems easy.
It's
We're going to do it.
Part, but if you get the one person, and they get to be in charge, and then everybody else is just kind of supporting, that's kind of the best case you can hope for right now. That's what the Celtics are, by the way. They got this guy Chisholm who's going to be like the face of it, but he has a whole bunch of financial support backing him. But the reason why they liked him as the face of it is because he grew up as a Celtics fan and he was from Massachusetts, right? So that could be hard to find. If you guys know any billionaires in Portland, I would call them immediately and tell them to start raising the money as quickly as possible.
Ben, good stuff as always, man. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy Minnesota.
Sounds good, guys. All right, take care.
All right,
Thanks,
that is Ben Golliver, Washington Post national NBA writer, and he said something that it triggered a thought in my head on something that we have not known about the Portland Trailblazers before. Danny Dusty on the Fan. Ben Golliver's conversation about the Blazers that we just had of the Washington Post, it sparked something that we just didn't know before, but it might make more sense now.
Go on.
Teams are usually very pleased to tell you exactly how long contracts go. Do you remember when Joe Cronin and Chauncey Billups were both extended? We just got multi-year extensions, and that was it. Because part of that is that they like to let you know the security of the franchise and how long things are going to go. Well, this didn't come out of nowhere, the announcement yesterday. This has been months, years in the works to get to this point, and both Chauncey Billups and Joe Cronin have been extended within the last, month and a half? That's probably because they want to have it a little bit ambiguous for whoever takes over ownership of the team.
I will say for coaches, yes, you usually get the years. For front office executives, you almost never get the years. But here particularly.
Yeah.
In Portland. That's just
could have been gone in 6 months here.
Whether it's Neil, whether it's Chad on an interim basis, Rich Cho, Kevin Pritchard, you just go to Trader Bob, you go down the list. The Blazers have always held those contracts, what those guys make, both on the executive and the coach front, close to the vest. Yeah. And you usually have to do some prying to find out what those eventually are. But to your point, it is interesting that we didn't get the Chauncey Billups has been extended for X amount of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think the one that I remember was Olshay's last extension. We got exactly how long, and it was through the 23-24 season. And that we knew exactly from 2019 to 23-24. Other than that, you're right, though. We never heard anything about how long those guys were going to be here
and that
for.
didn't come from the Blazers. That came through sourcing, which Warren Legary, who is Neil, and God knows more than half of the NBA's agent for front office executives.
Yeah. We will... That's an interesting little pivot here because I bet they're in the language of the contract. It's like, hey, if and when the team is sold, your contract can be voided. Yeah,
I've never been privy to that stuff, and I wonder what that language is in there. But I did the Jack Ramsey's Live last night, and when I was kind of walking through it myself, like the question I really have now is how empowered are they to make major decisions?
Yeah.
Because like I said, those books are basically, they have less than $50 million committed in 26-27. That is nothing. Now they've got like $185 million in cap holds because everyone's either an RFA or a club option.
Well, there's that may be by design or by dumb luck of all of this. Because look, every ownership group wants to come in and put their own mark on a team. And it just so happened that Portland was in the middle of a rebuild anyway.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it makes it a little bit easier to get that done. But the timing, it's less than suspicious there.
Well, I mean, look, the transactions that take place this summer, I'm going to keep a close eye on.
Yep.
Because of like, okay, when does this contract come up? Like, who does Shaedon get extended? Does 2 get extended early? What options do they pick up? What are they looking at? What do they prioritize in any trades or free agent moves or anything along those lines? With that sale in the back of your head, you have to consider what that is.
Well, Boston is the exception to the rule of no big money is spent when you're in the process of a sale. And
when you've got a title window, you do.
If you are a Blazer fan that was hoping that a move would be made, hand raise, don't expect it anymore. Like a big transcendent move.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. If it's a no-doubter, which I don't foresee coming, but I think you would look at that and what Ben brought up, the whole idea of like if some deal came across where they could facilitate a star, I think they would because that does make things better.
I hope it would. They didn't get it in the draft, though.
Nope.
With Cooper Flag. All right, hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2, we will have our worst day on the web coming up at 1:30 today. We had NBAing very hard yesterday.
Indeed.
But the NFL is starting to say, hey, you want to take a look at our schedule?
Mm.
Want to see what we got here? And we have a 30-year-old making a lot of money.
Oh.
Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Hey, it's Dirty.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. First up in Boston, it's the Celtics looking to force a Game 6 against the Knicks. No Jason Tatum. He had surgery yesterday for a ruptured Achilles tendon. 4 o'clock tip on TNT and Max. You can also hear it on 910 ESPN Portland. That coverage starts at 3:30. The Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. Then the Timberwolves are 10.5-point favorites at home, trying to put away the Warriors. They're still without Steph Curry. He's been cleared for light on-court duty, however, and hopes to play in Game 6 tonight. However, 6:30 tip. Also on TNT and Max. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Ravens and Derrick Henry have agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension, $25 million guaranteed. That's the largest deal in league history for a running back over 30 years old. And on the diamond, it's a rubber match for the Mariners and Yankees this afternoon at the Pink. Luis Castillo starting for Seattle. Will Warren for New York. 1:10 first pitch in just a few minutes on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Spray. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland's Sports Leader. 1080 The Fan. This week, the second major of the year heads to Quail Hollow in North Carolina.
I got the golf bug.
Okay, good.
I got the golf bug. I got, membership and keeping track of my handicap. And
oh, you are a gin member now, huh?
This is a PGA Championship Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club, the best course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080 The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours. 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, twitch.tv/1080 AM, the Fan, or the party people on the YouTube stream, youtube.com/1080 AM, the Fan. Shout outs to Pio and Rufio. He came by today. He brought gifts. He brought gifts. You got Raiders giblets?
I got Raiders giblets. I got 2 in my Crocs right now.
For your Crocs. He's a man who knows his audience.
He does.
Rust, you got grape nuts.
I got a box of grape nuts.
Which is so fitting.
Breakfast tomorrow already in the can.
Well, in case we need to do construction around here, we can concrete.
You will be on the can with your high in fiber diet of grape nuts. I'm still just floored.
One of my top 5s.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3. And then he got me a shirt that says I'm the captain now.
That's got to go up on the wall in the office.
Yeah, it does need to. So thanks for Rufio for stopping by today.
It is also very fitting. Your office is the office that we started broadcasting out of before our studio was finished here.
Yeah, back when we were literally doing shows out of a hollow room.
Mm-hmm.
That echo still remains in that office.
Yeah, you get that's got to be like the first thing on the wall to like deaden the noise in there.
Yeah, I can hear. It's like office space. I share a wall with our sales manager Sam.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, Peter man, turn to channel 9. I can hear everything he says to anybody in that office.
Perfect.
No secrets here. All right, NFL is doing their schedule release. Danny and Dusty Bowl kicks off week 1 of the NFL season. The Raiders will go to New England to take on the Patriots.
I'm sure that'll be stellar football.
It will be. Those are 2 up-and-coming teams there. But they're going through the official schedule release. I think it's tonight at 4. But almost every team has several leaks already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awful. Pete Carroll, do you see what Pete Carroll did? He went on with Brock and Salk up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Even though he's the coach of the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. He's got relationships.
He accidentally leaked that the Raiders and Seahawks will be playing preseason week 1.
Oh.
He was like, hey, guys, how about that? Did you guys see how cool is that? Week 1, that's a coincidence, right? And they were like, what do you mean preseason week 1? And he was like, oh, is that not out? And then he looked like beyond his camera and somebody was
shaking
scolding
their
him
head.
just like, you idiot.
Come on. Preseason, nobody gives an S about anyway.
Yeah, like Pete Carroll should be able to leak that.
Yeah, that's who you want leaking it.
Yeah, just be it's a preseason game. What do you want me to do?
I'm coming back, guys.
Yeah, so Pete in Seattle for week 1 of the preseason. Let's go.
I'll tell you what, man. I was up there for the preseason NBA game, and Pete is the king of that city.
Yeah.
The people literally lined up. He was sitting right in front of me at that game, and people lined up to basically kiss the ring.
Well, it's because he's accessible too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not a jerk.
No, it was awesome to see. Like, and he took every picture, signed every autograph, talked, shook hands, kissed babies. I was like, I didn't know Pete was loved like that here. Holy.
Adam Silver, did you see his comments about Christmas Day?
No.
He says he said that he embraces the competition of Christmas Day games.
Get out of here, dude. No, you don't. You're gonna get slaughtered.
Roger Goodell literally dressed as Santa Claus today at Up Front, the big media unveiling thing.
Yeah.
And he unveiled their lineup. I don't know if Adam Silver wants that smoke.
I mean,
did he then pretend to wipe Adam Silver off the bottom of his Santa boot?
Yeah. I mean, what was the game last? Was it the Ravens game last year that was an unwatchable?
It was 29-2.
Just a complete and utter disaster.
To 2.
Yes. And that game still didn't have like 17 million or something like that.
And they're putting them on streaming services, which you can't leave to go and flip over to the NBA game. So they're just like, gotcha.
Yeah. it's cute that Adam Silver's saying this. Stop trying to compete with the NFL. And NFL, get the hell off Christmas.
Yeah.
That's our day.
Not anymore.
No, it's our day.
Well, the 3 games will bury whatever the NBA has.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys, Commanders.
Oh, yeah.
Lions, Vikings.
Oh, God.
Broncos, Chiefs.
Good God.
Yeah.
That's a freaking lineup.
They're
man.
coming.
They're coming correct.
Yeah, they're not screwing around.
I mean, the NBA, they come correct on Christmas Day, but I mean, that's
what we thought last year was going to be, because wasn't one of them Ravens Texans? Wasn't that one?
I think that was the
game.
Yeah, because CJ Stroud got annihilated.
But they had clunkers.
Yeah,
like they were not good football games.
No, well, that's the thing is in the NBA, Christmas Day is like that's when teams are kind of like shaking off all of the rust and are kind of hitting some sort of stride, and you typically get very good Christmas Day games.
Yeah,
but the NFL doesn't typically play then, so
let's see.
And you never really know with the NFL which teams are really like some teams, but
the Christmas Day games last year were Chiefs beating the Steelers 29-10.
Yeah,
and the Ravens beating the Texans 31-2. Yet everybody watched.
Yeah.
So the NFL schedule is going to be released, and I don't really care. But you know what I do care about? Derrick Henry got paid today.
Yeah, real money.
Yeah. Derrick Henry signed an extension with the Baltimore Ravens, a 2-year, $30 million extension for the running back.
$25 million guaranteed.
$25 million guaranteed, and it's really, they got creative with the way that they did this. So he'll have a $14 million deal fully guaranteed this year, an $11 million deal for 2026 fully guaranteed, and then a $12 million non-guaranteed year. So they basically just said you had guaranteed money heading into this year. We're going to make it fully guaranteed over the next 2, and then we're going to tack on that extra year of, all right,
if you blow up, we can get out of it.
And that's the proper move. You ride that horse until he dies.
Because apparently he won't die. Everybody, we have been talking about Derrick Henry's carry limit for 3, maybe 4 years because of how much he was just rode his entire career. Like you get into a certain threshold, what is it, like 800, 900 carries? That's when it really starts to kind of fall off a cliff. And he was well past that.
Derrick Henry, in his professional football career, has played in 136 games.
That's crazy.
And has 2,355 carries for 11,423 yards and 106 touchdowns.
And I saw a stat that since 2020, he has run for 100 yards in half his games. Nobody else is anywhere close.
Yeah. Good Lord. He had 325 attempts last year at age 30.
Nuts, man.
He, in the last 3 years of his career, so 28 years old, 349 carries. 2023, age 29, 280. 2024, age 30, 325. That is bananas.
Yeah.
He's had 2 separate careers in his one. And he has been durable, and he has been a workhorse, man. That's nuts.
We've just never we haven't seen anybody like him in forever.
No, in that this is the thing. Every sport has these guys that are just anomalies.
Bettis.
Physically.
We're just a million carries and all of the punishment from hell, and
it's LeBron in the NBA. Like LeBron is this way in the NBA, where he is. Everybody's like, how is he doing this?
He's also changed his body so many times.
Well, he changed it to look like Derrick Henry's, and Derrick Henry's always looked like this.
He looked like that day one.
Going back to his days in Alabama, where Mark Ingram's looking up at him like, God,
have you seen Mark Ingram talk about that?
Freak of nature. No.
He's like, okay, first of all, I'm not that small.
Yeah.
He goes, the camera angle, I'm further back. He's in the foreground. I'm in the background. He's like,
brother, your head is tilted up, and you weren't watching a flyover, man. Your eyes were on him. Like, good Lord.
The only coin toss photo that is more iconic than that is Sean Oakman.
Yeah, Baylor.
That is the only one where you're just like,
just yoked up.
That's a different species of human, especially with that the Justin Tuck face mask.
That was chrome.
Yeah, you're just like, no, dog. Imagine, like, I know the mindset of those guys, and I'm better than everybody. That's the dude, the first one off the bus that you see.
Yeah.
That has just got to be horrifying. That has got to be horrifying to see that walk off the bus.
Not a good feeling.
You're just like, I got to go against that today.
Yeah, I don't recommend.
That's just like I said, just entirely different species of human, those two dudes.
Well, Derrick Henry is absolutely.
Well, shout out to Henry, though, getting paid and keeping the running back market going, and Saquon Barkley, doing what he needed to do, kind of put some juice back in the running back market, but also the change in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, the physicality and running being back. Big boys are back, man. It's thick boy season. I love it.
Well, speaking of thick boys, Desmond Watson, the 6'6", 464-pound defensive lineman out of Florida, he's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Uh-huh.
Did you see the meme going around him today?
I saw the one where they said, "Welcome back, Zeke Elliott."
Yeah, that
was tough. Zeke Elliott and Jani Broom last couple days. Catching strays. But what would they have with Watson?
It is related to Jani Broom.
Oh, no. Please don't
Jani Broom had a 24.5-inch vertical at the NBA Scouting Combine.
Oh, no.
Desmond Watson, at 6'6", 464 pounds, registered a 25-inch vertical at the NBA
a
at the NFL Combine.
25-inch vertical at 450 plus is insane.
Yeah.
That is absolute. Like, think about that for a second.
The force you have to generate.
If you knock 100 pounds off that guy, he's still one of the 5 biggest guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's 364 pounds.
As a large man.
He is right now the heaviest player to ever put on pads in the NFL.
Yeah. The crazy thing is about, like, Refrigerator Perry.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, he's 300 pounds. It's like, that's everybody on the offensive line.
That's a center now.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Jason Kelce talks about going from Chip Kelly to getting out of that offense. For Chip, he got down, I think he said, to 276. And he was like, I was so small. I was so small at 276.
Just a little man.
And I'm just like, just think about that for a second. You were that small at 276?
Yeah.
Big butts matter. It's true.
Big butts matter. Desmond Watson, if you look at his legs, you understand.
Tree trunks.
I'm going to retweet this photo of the meme. Go ahead and take a gander at that, at Dusty_Hera. It's a picture of Desmond Watson running off the field. He's 464 pounds. I would venture to guess, and I'm not kidding here, 300 are in his legs.
Yeah.
If you look at it,
his frame is enormous.
If you look at it, you will notice just how large his butt and his legs are. His upper body is that of like a 330-pound man, but his legs, you just go, that ain't right, dude. Good luck moving that human being.
Like, just imagine if you just gave Vince Wilfork 100 pounds.
Yeah, and
it's like, what?
You'd think he'd be more dominant. They say he can move well. They put him in on offensive snaps and stuff, but he's just not quick off the ball.
Yeah, which is
that's problematic because he can just down, double team him, and that equalizes 600 pounds more than 464.
But he does require 2.
He does require 2
because it's a big old boy. Yeah, for those that haven't seen it, Jani Broom, the big man from Auburn, he has it's a video of a standing vertical. And he does like the whole arm swing load up, and he does it like 6 times, and then he registers a vertical that you see literally anywhere.
Yeah, it was not great.
And it's like, oh, look, and his game isn't predicated on that. It's more craft and guile and footwork, but it's like 24 is
that's not good.
That's bad.
It looked like as he was loading up for that vertical, he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. And I'm not really doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It's a tough place to be.
And the people that were recording it were holding off laughs. That's tough. That's not good.
Because you don't even have to see how high he jumps on the bar. No. You can just look at his feet and go, oh boy, that's not good.
All right, we had basketball last night. A really good game between Denver and Oklahoma City.
Incredible.
Again. Are we going to see 3 gentlemen sweeps in the conference semifinals. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Last night, we saw our first team eliminated in the conference semifinals. The Pacers finishing off the Cavaliers 114-105.
Yeah, Cavs went out sad. It's a bummer.
Well, did you see the Max Strus quote prior to the game?
Showing up to work?
He's like, like something along the lines of, if you don't think we can win, don't even show up. And he went 0 for 9.
Yeah. Well, he showed up to work for the Miami Heat. That's what he did.
Holy guacamole. And that was the first of what could be 3 of the 4 series in the conference semifinals being gentlemen's sweeps, because tonight we get a chance at 2 more. The Tatumless Celtics host the New York Knickerbockers in a 3-1 hole. The Timberwolves lead the Warriors 3-1 in Minnesota, where Ben Golliver will be in attendance.
Indeed.
And they can finish this thing off. No Steph Curry for Golden State.
He is doing light work. Status for Game 6 up in the air.
Yeah.
You don't come off a hamstring strain and play a week later.
Yeah, his status may be up in the air, but it's falling very quickly.
Well, they got to put that out there while they lose in Game 5. Be like, oh man, darn! If we just would have got it to 6, you never know, because that's the BS that they'll sell.
And Jimmy Butler is working through an illness.
Yeah,
that sucks. So is Kristaps Porzingis. Nothing is going right for the two teams that are in 3-1 holes right now. Just like with
the Cavs.
The Cavs too, man. Injuries just ravaged them.
I mean, Garland and Donovan Mitchell, look, they showed up, but you could tell they left it all out there. They just didn't have it. I mean, Mitchell's playing on one wheel, Garland's playing on one wheel, and tip your cap. And like this is not to denigrate the Pacers at all. Tip your cap to the Pacers, because even after the Cavs came out and punched the Pacers in the mouth, 33-19 in the first quarter, but they just had absolutely no gas left, and man, the Pacers just piled on.
Not a fan of Cavs fans going after Darius Garland too. Like,
the question is toughness. Dude, he's playing through turf toe. You usually have to have surgery on that. It takes a long ass time to come back from.
Do you know what your big toe does for
It's
you?
everything, particularly for a 6'2" guard who relies on the ability to stop, start, and cut.
It's balance.
Yeah.
It's balance. Yeah, I would. Those kind of things kind of piss me off.
They did the same thing last year when he broke his jaw, and they're like, "Oh, what about Derek?" He had to eat through a straw for 2 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and he still came back.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, what another. And I understand fans will get frustrated, like, oh, another injury, surprise, surprise. But that's not. Those weren't the shots being taken. It was like directed at his overall toughness. Didn't get it. Don't like it.
DG is not. He's a small guy, but he's not lacking toughness.
What we do have, though, is one good series.
Mm-hmm.
We have a really good series. Denver OKC is really good basketball.
That game last night was incredible.
Jokic was back at it, 44, 15, 5, and 2.
He now has 3 games of 40, 15, and 5 in this playoffs, which the only other person to have ever done that is Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, that's good.
Like, Jokic is doing these crazy lines so often, it's becoming Wilt Chamberlain and Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Wilt Chamberlain and Nikola Jokic. And you're just like, oh. I mean, he had 2 shots last night that are 2 of the most insane shots I've ever seen in my entire life. The one that he had last year, remember against the Lakers, the pull behind the head, throw it at the rim, touches nothing but the bottom of the net. He added the degree of difficulty to it last night. Did the what he calls the Sombor shuffle. That's where he's from, is Sombor, and it's that spinning kind of post fade flick that he does, and he hit it from 27 feet. And it was like, okay, dude.
Nuts.
Then he has another one on the baseline where he drives, and Chet Holmgren comes over to help, and Chet's 7'1", 7'2" with dumb long arms. Jokic stops and throws a 15, 16-foot high floater off the top of the glass that just drops in. You're like, all right, dog. I don't know what to do with that. That breaks my brain.
And you just sit there at times, you're like, okay, this is lucky. But
no.
Then you do it so many times, it's like, all right.
He might have the greatest touch in NBA history.
Yeah.
Not shooter, just greatest touch.
It's very reminiscent of like Paul George after Dame, when it was like, wow, that was bad shot.
It's like, no, dude.
It's like at the time, sure, basketball people considered that a bad shot, but when you do it enough, that just is in your bag.
Yeah, you just have
and that's who you are. And he has cornered the market on weird looking shots. I love a guy who's playing really, really well in this series is Aaron Gordon.
He's been incredible. Heaven forbid somebody not named Aaron Gordon show up.
Yeah. And his stat line was not like eye-popping. He only had 13 points. He had 3 turnovers, only had 5 rebounds, 3 assists. But it's just like everything that he does keeps him in the game. At every turn where you're like, oh boy, this could be it for OKC. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. It's just like, here comes Aaron Gordon making a stop on the defensive end, or being in the right place to contest a shot, or setting up an extra pass for somebody else to make a shot. He is, or just being a guy who has gravity when he's careening down the lane. You're like, oh boy, he's going to, nope. Then he dumps it off. Like, it's everything he's doing.
He's the perfect accompanying player for Nikola Jokic. When you're talking non-stars in the league, he is the perfect role player for him.
He also is a damn good teammate.
Yep.
And if you want to talk about like the right way to handle something that happens behind closed doors and makes it public, listen to this, because I don't know who wrote it. Who wrote the ESPN article? There's an ESPN article out there about how after game 2, there was a confrontation between Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook in the Denver Nuggets locker room. And Aaron Gordon was asked about it, and this was his response, and it was perfect for how you handle these sorts of situations.
Earlier, I caught wind of an article that came out about Russell Westbrook and in our locker room after game 2, which was a completely arbitrary article and pointless and unnecessary by whoever it was that put it out. Russ is one of the most talented basketball players that has ever played the game of basketball. And quite frankly, he's been great for us all year long. We're brothers. We spend more time with our team than we do with our own family. Of course, there's going to be disagreements, but that conversation wasn't for anybody other than our own group and the internal workings of our locker room. So that article is just so arbitrary and so far from the truth. Russ has been amazing for us. And not only is he a great basketball player, but he's an even better human being. And he's going to continue to be great for us, and he's going to make a huge impact, and he's going to help us win these next 2 games. And that's all I got to say, guys.
Thanks, man.
Boom.
AG has really matured since his early years when he was with the Orlando Magic. And it wasn't a bad guy, but he thought he was him.
Mm-hmm.
In his realization, his growth, his maturity, he has understood that I'm not, but I can really help him.
Winning the dunk title and being
the focal guy for the
propped up
Magic.
by
Yeah.
the league
Yeah.
too, as like, hey, the next up and coming exciting player.
Remember, he's a number 3 overall pick. I mean, this isn't just some dude who just stumbled into his real athletic and like, oh, maybe Aaron Gordon was a real prospect, and there was a guy that Orlando was looking at as building their franchise around. He has matured, and he has always been a dude that got it. Now, there was a little bit of, ego and arrogance that come with being a young number 3 overall pick and all those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with that. But he has always been a guy who's incredibly well respected and a great locker room dude. And it was Ramona Shelburne who wrote this article. And it behooves me to remind everyone, Ramona Shelburne was also one of the authors of the articles, the hit pieces on Russ leaving Los Angeles.
Right. Friends with Jeannie.
So you can draw some lines there about how she may or may not feel or biases that come with it. Look, Russ is explosive as an athlete, as a basketball player, as a human. But I have also talked to God knows how many players about Russ over the years. They'll all talk about what he is or isn't as a basketball player. Nobody talks sideways about Russ as a human.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, Kevin Durant.
Well, I guess that's fair. That's, I think, a little bit different. But to your point, Kevin Durant excluded. People
of all people, Kevin Durant too. You're gonna go, all right, I get it.
Yeah. But Russ is a guy that's very well respected as far as like being a human. Like he does all the right things. We always talk about LeBron and how he's been in the limelight and never gotten caught up in anything. What has Russ ever gotten caught up with outside of getting into arguments with Dame?
And a terrible wardrobe.
But
high fashion.
But beyond
nothing. Absolutely nothing.
The whole it's not Draymond.
No.
Hell, Russ was a guy who took a cheap shot and lost a year of his career.
When his face looked like he had a dent in his face.
Oh yeah, the CJ got him with the elbow.
Yeah.
Remember, Pat Bev undercut him and took his knee out
I forgot about that.
Tore his ACL on a nasty, dirty, ugly play that just is totally uncalled for. And then when they played again, when he first came back, he tried to do it again.
Yeah.
And Russ, to his credit, has taken the high road most of his career.
But he also steps in it quite often
on the floor.
Well, and off the floor too, with his words and his defensiveness over the Westbrook and his ability to shoot and getting into it with fans.
Barry Trammell.
Like he will yell at fans, and I mean, he does that, but it's none of it's criminal. No. He's sensitive. A sensitive guy, and by all accounts, family guy too.
Yeah,
like The thing about what Aaron Gordon said that I appreciate and I like so much, though, is he mentioned the fact that, look, we see each other more than we see our family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't think that disagreements are going to happen and there aren't blowups, that's just part of it. And for that stuff to get reported, on one hand, it's, all right, who's telling Ramona Shelburne this?
It means you got snitches in your locker room.
And then the other is, we can squash this really quickly. And I'm going to go to bat for a guy who's a vet, who's the only guy coming off our bench.
Although he might as well not have been. I mean, him, Michael Porter Jr., and Christian Brown last night might not have played. It would have made a difference.
And that is the other thing, though. For Aaron Gordon to say that after last night where
nobody else
Russell Westbrook was objectively terrible.
Yes.
I mean, he was horrific.
I think he's 6 of 27 from 3 in the series, just not getting it done in that regard.
Don't call him Westbrook, though.
Did you see the stat that came out of the game last night, though? Because the Thunder were down 8 going into the fourth quarter. Jokic was 4 of 6 in the fourth quarter. He was incredible. The Thunder scored on their final 7 possessions. The Nuggets outside of Jokic, 1 of 15 in the fourth quarter.
Next up.
You don't even need to be good. You just need to not suck that much.
Yeah. And they win that game.
Yeah. And that's, again, you talk about the young guys in OKC needing to get their scars. That felt like a game that Denver just coughed up a fur ball.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, is that going to be the game?
But those are where young teams get their scars too. You don't get them all in losses.
No, you sometimes you go, hey, we scraped out of here with the win. We need to take that and learn from it, and not put ourselves in that position where we have to score 7 straight possessions. I think it's the 406 mark
in a 30
to the end of the game.
A 34-point quarter.
I mean, they were nuclear in that final 4 minutes. It was just like,
that's growth. That's growth. That's growth. That seems to be the only game that we see going to 7.
I think it's going to go 7. I don't think OKC is going to win in Denver.
All right.
So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about the.
It's at 5,200 feet too, by the way. 5,280.
5,280.
Yeah,
Make sure
5,280.
80 feet.
5,280. It's a big deal, man.
Counts, man.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta make sure you get that 80 feet.
Yep.
All right, coming up next is our worst day on the web. There are cameras everywhere, always. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with a Sports Center update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
This is a PGA Championship Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Big's Chicken. Try their smoked and fried wings, tossed with a perfect dry rub and served with a trio of killer sauces. Menus at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. First up in Boston, the Celtics looking to force a Game 6 against the Knicks. No Jason Tatum. He had surgery yesterday for a ruptured Achilles tendon. 4 o'clock tip on TNT and Max. You can also catch coverage on 910 ESPN Portland beginning at 3:30. The Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. Then the Timberwolves are 10.5-point favorites at home, trying to put away the Warriors, who are still without Steph Curry. That's a 6:30 tip, also on TNT and Max. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Ravens and Derrick Henry have agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension with $25 million guaranteed. It's the largest deal in league history for a running back over 30 years old. And we've got a rubber match for the Mariners and Yankees this afternoon at T-Mobile Park. They just started the beginning of the bottom of the second inning, and we are still scoreless. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks. I don't know if anybody else caught this when it happened live. I saw it and went, oh, that's surprising. As the Warriors go to the timeout, Draymond Green comes off the bench and is high-fiving teammates and says, hey, spread's 5.5.
Yeah. And everybody went directly to Draymond Green must be betting on the NBA. Well, because, like, why would he be saying that?
By the way, the Warriors hit a 3 and covered.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good at all.
No.
Because, in all honesty, why would you say that? Why would you say that?
During the game, a playoff game.
Yeah,
why is your mind there?
Well,
like, that is the bad thoughts that you don't let out.
Yeah. But the NBA saw it differently because what they took from that is also you go, oh, yikes. They looked at it as Draymond Green was questioning the integrity of the officials to get that line over 5.5 for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So he got fined $50,000 for questioning the integrity of the refs in saying, hey, he was talking about that line being 5.5 because those guys probably have money on the game and they don't want us to cover. Mm-hmm. So we're going to hit that 3 and we're going to cover, damn it, which I like that. Mm-hmm. And we do have a track record and a history of NBA officials betting on games
in the playoffs with major implications.
Tim Donaghy.
Do you ever think about that? If the Kings win that series, and they should have, the Kings have a title.
Kings have a title, and they look dramatically different organizationally.
Like you commit fully and figure some stuff out. That is a massive sliding doors moment.
Oh yeah,
for that franchise.
Oh yeah.
You think about the way we think.
I mean, same thing with the Blazers too.
Yeah.
The Western Conference Finals.
I mean, whoever wins that game wins the title. Those 2 years.
Yeah,
like it's a crazy. Like, the 3 best teams in basketball were the Blazers, Lakers, and Kings.
Yep.
Like that was everybody else was fighting for it in that time period.
Look, and that fuels all the conspiracy theories about the Mavericks winning the lottery too, because if the NBA wants the Lakers to win, sending Luka to LA will scratch your back, you scratch ours. That it doesn't help conspiracy theories one.
Just think about how
bit.
Chris Webber is viewed today. Think about how Jason Williams is viewed today. Like, just think about like that team, how Vlade is viewed today.
Vlade, we likes to party.
If all of a sudden those guys are all wearing rings.
Mm-hmm. Peja Stojakovic.
Just this morning, Colin was talking about players who are winners and players who are just flashy, and one of them he mentioned by name was Jason Williams, just flashy, not a winner.
Jason Williams could have had a title, and we're talking about them the same way we talk about the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys know that he played high school basketball with Randy Moss?
Like, that's how you know the universe has a sense of humor, though. Just think about the middle of BFE, West Virginia.
Yeah.
You have 2 of the greatest athletes you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, that's just...
Did they win a state title in basketball? They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
They played football together, too.
Could you imagine walking into a gym just being like, oh, crap.
Well, you see the white guy, and you're like, oh, it's West Virginia, white point guard, and he's the sauciest dude you've ever seen in your entire life. Meanwhile, this other guy, you're like, oh God, and then you see him jump, and you go, oh God.
Yeah, yeah. They got lucky. They got lucky with those 2. They got lucky with those 2, huh?
Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford, like playing in high school. You get it. It was Koppel, wasn't it? Koppel High School.
No, it was high something.
It's one of the
heights.
It's one of the bigger, massive, Dallas Metroplex high schools that just are insane. This is the middle of nowhere, West Virginia.
Yeah,
like the chances of that are just bonkers.
No, you don't see that. You just have to wonder. Was like there's some barnstorming tour of professional athletes that came through West Virginia in the 70s, and then Randy Moss and Jason Williams are like, oh, same area. Weird. What a coinky dink.
Oh. The Harlem Globetrotters came through. It's just like, what? But
Highland Park.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
I went to Highland Park High School, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. Pretty good. But as it pertains to Draymond Green, he was fined. Got hit with a $50,000 fine.
Yeah, because nobody questions the integrity of NBA officials.
Oh, it's
as Scott Foster works Eastern Conference semifinals games.
The irony of this, of course, is if you're watching the game live, there's a ticker scrolling across the bottom with the line, and they're breaking in during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kenny, what's the line tonight? I don't know, Chuck.
Time for our FanDuel play of the game.
Yeah, and you're just like, all right, dog. Look, Draymond shouldn't have said it. You can't be that obvious about it.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to do it, man, do the hand over the mouth. Do the hand over the mouth so you can do this. And
discretion is not Draymond's strong point, as we can see by his fouls, his comments, or anything else that Draymond Green does.
And you're not wrong. All right, coming next, the baseball world got a little wonky last night.
It was crazy.
Including for the Seattle Mariners, which you saw extras pop up in, but they were the culmination of a crazy night. We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. NFL schedule being released, NBA playoffs, lottery madness, NBA combine, everything else going on. Baseball still out here doing some things because baseball got weird as hell last night. And by weird as hell, I mean absolutely awesome. 5 walk-offs.
Yeah, it was just an incredible night. So you had 5 walk-off hits in games, including J.P. Crawford slapping a single. It was bookend by 2 incredible home runs. Javi Baez was the first one to do it for the Tigers, and then Fernando Tatis just
mashed that thing.
Pimps a home run. But you had 5 walk-offs, 4 2-homer games, 3 walk-off home runs, 2 grand slams last night.
I mean,
it was one of those days where you go, you know what?
Something's in the water.
Baseball is rad, and baseball can still rope you in and get you. In last night, did you see the stat between the Tigers when they walked off the Red Sox, and when the Justin Turner hit a walk-off double for the Cubs? There were 3 walk-off hits in a span of 4 minutes in real time.
That makes sense when the timeline was flooding the way that it was.
From 7:18 p.m. Pacific to 7:22 p.m., you had the Tigers walk off the Red Sox, Cubs walk off the Marlins, and then the Astros walked off the Royals in a 4-minute stretch. And then you had the Mariners, Yankees, and the Padres, Angels in the night games after that. It was just drama all the way across. And that's why baseball is cool. And because baseball does this. It's been a sport that's been around for 150 years, but over 150 years. But you also have these moments where it's like, this has never been done before. And you're like, that's odd.
Which is crazy when you consider the number of games that are played.
Number of games, the amount
longevity.
of years. It's crazy.
Anytime you hear something's never been done in Major League Baseball history, I usually perk up my seat like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Also, this comes from Cespedes Family Barbecue on Twitter.
Great count.
There were 5 walk-offs last night. There are only 3 teams that do not have a walk-off win this season.
Rockies?
Yes.
Yes. Pirates?
No.
Marlins?
No. It's the Rockies, the Reds,
really?
and the Orioles. And the
No,
Reds,
that last one.
the Reds had a chance last night as well. They end up losing in extras to the White Sox. Now there's only 3 teams without a walk-off win so far.
That's crazy already.
There's only 4 that don't have a walk-off loss this season either.
So everybody's been walked off.
The Orioles are the only team that falls into both those categories.
Yeah, because they lose handily because they can't score runs or pitch right now.
Boy,
The hell is going on in Baltimore?
They are in trouble.
Yeah, I do not understand how both sides of their team is not working right now.
O's, Guardians, Cubs, and D-backs, the only teams that have not been walked off.
Yeah, Cub one, not surprising considering they just bludgeon the living hell out of everyone.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Baseball's cool.
I love baseball because you can just get in and out of it.
Yeah, you don't have to pay attention. It's the best background sport.
Oh God, yeah. Like during the summer months, if I'm working in the studio, working out, something like that, I will just throw Cardinals games on, especially if it's like a doubleheader, just let it roll over. Oh God, that is absolutely fantastic stuff.
And it can be infuriating to watch. It can be infuriating to play too, at times.
Oh God,
you know how many times have you played baseball? You're like, what am I even doing here right now? And it's great. I love every minute of it. I had one of those. Actually, I had one of those last night with my kid in his game. He had like one of those Sandlot moments. Remember when Benny is like, just stand there, put your glove up, and I'll hit it to you, and it just goes right into his glove. There's a kid playing left field, and he was standing there like with his glove just like up in the air.
Looking down at the ground, drawing stuff in the dirt.
Yeah. My kid hits like a line drive. It hits the kid right in the glove. The ball was in his glove. He turned around to look to see where the ball was and was like, oh, look, it's right here.
Oh, he ended up catching it?
He caught it. It was in his glove.
It didn't do the hit the heel and bounce out?
No, it just went right into the pocket. And he just was like, he's like, I caught it. It's like, holy crap. Nice job, dude.
There you go.
You know, meanwhile, my son's like, what? What is happening right now?
I just barreled the living hell out of the ball. What do you mean it's not a hit? The last time I played baseball, we had a base team in the Air Force. And was it a case of the yips? I was playing shortstop. I almost forgot how to throw mid-game.
Oh, you Chuck Knobloch that.
Oh, dude,
you went Rick Ankiel.
Dude, it was crazy. I had made a couple plays already throughout the game. It was like the 4th or 5th inning. Routine grounder. I threw this thing 9 feet over the first baseman's head. Everybody just looked at me because I'd never done anything like that. And I was like, I don't know what the hell just happened there. Here's the screwed up thing. It didn't even feel wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this sport is dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just a little underarm, flip, and it just sailed. And nobody did anything. It was so egregiously bad, everybody just stopped and looked. Both teams. And I was like, there is not a dark hole deep enough for me to crawl into right now.
Yeah. It's a sport of luck. It's a sport of luck. And when you have, especially when you have pitchers now in Major League Baseball are throwing 100 miles an hour, dude, you're guessing, dude. You're just trying to put the bat on the ball somewhere.
We have a person at K2, younger guy, who we said, if we set you down to the D-bat facility and put a 97-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle 100 times, you would not hit it. He goes, oh no, I'd hit it. He goes, I'd hit it at least 10 times. I offered him $100 to hit it once. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I literally had the money in my wallet. I'm like, put it on the table. I'm like, do it, dude. Do it. And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
you're not
you don't
hitting
want to do that. You don't want that smoke.
You're not hitting it.
No.
And that's just 97 straight. You're not hitting it.
There was a video that was bouncing around, and it was of a catcher who was catching somebody who throws 103.
Oh, God.
And it was like, this is what it looks like. He had a GoPro on. I don't know how these catchers catch the ball, let alone hit it.
It hisses as it comes in. It's like it sounds like a freaking bullet.
Yeah, I don't want any of that.
One of my favorite accounts on social media right now is Pitching Ninja when he does the overlays. Yeah. And anytime I see Paul Skeens, I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this. Because the guy throws 102 and his pitch tunneling, it looks the same at 45 feet, whether it's going 102 or 82. And I'm like, how the hell do you make up your mind in that 1/100th of a millisecond to what you're going to swing and you're going to make contact? I'm just like, there's just no way.
These guys are incredible. They're incredible. And we often say, guys don't hit for average anymore. Tony Gwynn is the greatest hitter I've ever seen. He would occasionally see a guy touching a hundo.
Yeah.
Now, you're seeing 3 in a game. You're seeing 3 in a Major League Baseball game. You'll see 3 guys that can do that.
Randy Johnson was touching 99, 100 occasionally at his peak.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, we've never seen anything like this. Now you've got Hunter Green throwing 105.
Yeah. That's why I like knuckleballers. Bring Tim Wakefield back. Just watch that baby
You
move.
want to talk about luck.
Yeah. You should go.
Who was his catcher? Was it Veritek?
Yeah, I don't know.
He had a catcher that he kept the Sox kept around for a long time after he could really do anything because he was the only one who could catch him.
That would be quite the pivot if you went your setup guy. You went from 100 to knuckleball
64 and dancing
back to a Aroldis Chapman touching 102, and you're like, good luck, guys.
Your eye line is just it doesn't exist.
I don't know what to do.
Just pretzeled.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Awesome.
Coming up in hour number 3, we do have 2 elimination games in the NBA.
Okay.
Do either of these teams have a chance? We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. First up in Boston, it's the Celtics looking to force a Game 6 against the Knicks. No Jason Tatum. He had surgery yesterday for a ruptured Achilles tendon. 4 o'clock tip on TNT and Max, and coverage on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 3:30. The Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. Then later on, the Timberwolves 10.5-point favorites at home, trying to put away the Warriors, who are still without Steph Curry. 6:30 tip. That is also on TNT and Max. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Ravens and Derrick Henry have agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension with $25 million guaranteed. That's the largest deal in league history for a running back over 30 years old. Got a rubber match for the Mariners and Yankees this afternoon at T-Mobile Park, and it is the bottom of the third, and the Mariners now with a, hang on, where did he go? 2-0 lead thanks to a 2-run double from Julio Rodriguez. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The home of prime time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan. It's time for our hosts to tee off.
I got a late invite to do some golf.
Oh, hey, all right.
Shot 100 on the dot.
On the dot? Well, good thing you made that putt.
This is Danny and Dusty on PGA Championship Week.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club, the best course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080 The Fan.
Well, speaking of Langdon Farms, reminder, your local Toyota dealers present the 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club on Tuesday, June 24th, brought to you by Henderson & Daughter, Windows and Doors, and by Philwick Law, Accident and Injury Lawyers. We'll be out there all day. The wife will drop me off at 6 in the morning and pick me up at 7 in the afternoon, and hopefully I'll be no worse for the wear. That won't happen.
Yeah, you definitely will be.
That won't happen.
You definitely will be.
But helping us out along the way, we've got Victor Rico's out there with the absolutely fantastic breakfast burritos. It's, oh God, it's so freaking good.
That's the big benefit of the morning round, is that you get out there, you get a hearty breakfast burrito.
That thing is just solid.
Play the round of golf, then you got Matt's barbecue waiting for you when you get done. It's amazing.
Sink on down in the red shed, decompress, lie
awesome.
about your scores.
No. Do not lie about the scores. The sandbagging has got to stop.
Yeah,
we've
got eyes on you.
You know who you are.
Don't worry, we're looking up handicaps ahead of time just to see if they adjust accordingly.
Oh, that would be something.
Oh, that's weird. This guy's handicap jumped 7 spots.
Well, my, oh my, oh
weird.
my.
Interesting. But if you are interested, and they are going quick, go to 1080thefan.com, click on the Fan Golf Classic logo, and sign up your foursome. We are now, 5 weeks away?
Yes, we are.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's coming fast.
God, it always does. It's like, oh, we have this coming, and it's like, oh, we're a month out. Oh, we're 2 weeks out. Oh, we're here.
Bingo! Spots are filling up really fast, though, so get on them right now. If you're on the fence, get it done, folks.
All right. First game is actually the second game of the night, but this, I think, is probably the least important of the two. I just don't know how, which way, shape, matter, or form, some magic that the Warriors are somehow even talking about point spreads that got Draymond Green in trouble. But they were in the last game against the Minnesota Timberwolves before falling behind 3-1. They have to stave off elimination tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And by God, as much as I trust the Indiana Pacers right now, I can't trust the Timberwolves further than I can throw them. They make no sense. They should absolutely buzzsaw this Warriors team, and yet they still haven't done it.
No, all these games are close, and there's vets still in Golden State that have been here, done that, and they just lack scoring punch. I think that's one of the most head-scratching parts of this Minnesota Timberwolves team, is that their lowest scoring output games are in the playoffs all season long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going back to a early February game right before the All-Star break where guys aren't playing, and they still were mustering points up with their bench guys. They have a lack of punch at times that is frustrating.
And it's not for lack of talent. It's not for lack of shooting. It's not. It's just they just don't make any sense, and they don't have the requisite force that they're playing with. However, the folks down in the Sandcastles in Las Vegas, 10.5-point favorites tonight.
Yeah, and that just is. I think the gas is out for the Warriors tank. You have the Steph injury. He's not going to play. We know he's not going to play even in Game 6 if he's doing light workouts now.
Honestly, I hope to God he doesn't, because after what we saw happen to Dame coming back off the calf injury and off the blood clots and then suffering the Achilles injury, and just looking around the league and Garland playing through stuff and Mitchell playing through stuff, you're just like, I had somebody who covers the Cavs after the game. I was talking to him last night, and I was like, sorry about the season, man. And he goes, yeah, now I wait to see how many guys have surgery.
Yeah.
Like that's the worry. Like if you're Steph Curry, you can't afford to have off-season surgery at 36.
No.
Don't go out there and tear your freaking hamstring, dude.
But this is where I just don't know. Like with Golden State, you're not going to see him. Jimmy Butler is sick. Draymond Green can't score.
Mm-hmm.
He's never been a scorer, but even now as he's getting older, it's
fewer
and further in between. So you're leaning on Buddy Hield and Pods.
And Kuminga.
Kuminga off the bench, who's just playing black hole basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's that ball ain't going anywhere but a shot. We know that. But also, they need it.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
That's the only way they have a chance is if those guys and Moses Moody, Kuminga, Pods, like those guys all have to contribute for them to have a chance. It's interesting. This is the first time, I believe, in this series that it's been a double-digit margin. And I think that just shows you, to your point, how out of gas the Golden State Warriors are at this point.
And it's a big question, though. Minnesota's season low was 93 points. They did that one time in the regular season,
Mm-hmm.
93 points back on November 29th against the Los Angeles Clippers. They have, in the postseason, 3 games of 93 or less points so far, 2 of them in this series against Golden State.
And don't get me wrong, things slow down. The pace isn't really there, unless, of course, you are the Pacers, who somehow have defied all logic and continue to play with their hair on fire. But it's also just dumbfounding.
Yeah. With that said, though, game 2? Game 2 where they blew Golden State out, and they can do it.
It is there. Be doing.
And I think back at home, the chance to just finish a team off, it does come down to their star, though. And you talk about not being able to trust this Minnesota team. It is the ready, fire, aim approach of Anthony Edwards, where if the game goes a different way than what he has thought, he's done. He's toast, and they're ineffective offensively.
It's going to be interesting to see how that one turns out. Coming up next, there's another 3-1 game between the Boston Celtics, or the Hospital Celtics, and the New York Knicks. Are we headed towards the infamous rematch of the Pacers and Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals? We'll get to that next here on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan. as they have the opportunity to take on the Indiana Pacers with a win tonight in the Eastern Conference Finals over the Boston Celtics. And talking to media and executives around the NBA over the past 48 hours, there is a major power vacuum that is currently underway in the NBA and the Eastern Conference, with an injury to Damian Lillard, an injury now to Jason Tatum that will both see them out for the season next year, both with devastating Achilles injuries.
Giannis wanting to be traded.
And the Cavs maybe not looking the part. The Eastern Conference is as wide open as it's maybe ever been.
Isn't this crazy, though? Because there was like this brief spell where it was like, dude, the East is actually might be back.
Philly, Boston, Miami, you're like sitting there going, oh.
Detroit is they're starting to be on the upswing, but you had go back, just rewind a few years ago where Miami was really damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Boston was really damn good. The Philadelphia 76ers were really dang good. Milwaukee was winning a title.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the top end of the East looked like it was finally getting their ass together.
Now you look at it and you say, this goes back to what we've thought of the East for 2 decades now, which is who?
By the way, the top 2 picks in the NBA draft are going to the West.
Yeah. Yep.
And as it pertains to Giannis Antetokounmpo, I've mentioned this before, everything started really picking up. Giannis's preference is to stay in the East. Now it's growing to an absurd level. You don't want to go West. It is brutal.
I do have the odds for Giannis and where he lands.
Without having seen them, I would assume San Antonio shot up that list.
There is not an Eastern Conference team until you get to 5th.
And is it Brooklyn or New York?
Brooklyn.
Okay.
New York is 7, 9, 11th.
Okay.
Behind the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I don't think giving Drew and Jalen is enough, but
as of right now, the San Antonio Spurs are the odds-on favorite, 5-2 plus 250 odds there.
Getting that number 2 pick just put them in the driver's seat with a million different things.
Plus 400 is the Houston Rockets, 4-1 odds. Then the New Orleans Pelicans, 6-1 odds.
Because they control so much of their draft.
And that goes back to, and it also goes back to what you said about, does Boston maybe make a deal with New Orleans so you can bring Zion in, cut him because he's got non-guaranteed money, take 1 year of a hit against the salary cap, and then your books look a little bit cleaner. Milwaukee could essentially do the same thing and get their draft capital back that New Orleans does control. Memphis is 4th on this list, 13-2 plus 650.
Jaren, Desmond, and picks plus some of the young kids. You could do worse.
Then you have Brooklyn, 8-1 odds. Cleveland, 9-1.
They give up Mobley.
And then you go Dallas, 9-1. OKC, 12-1. That's nothing but draft capital.
Yeah. And Chet.
And then you go Boston, New York. And then Orlando and the Portland Trailblazers, plus 1,600, 16-1.
Well, here's the other thing, too. If you're Milwaukee, you don't want to see him in conference.
No.
You don't want, if I had to place a bet right now, hell, even before the lottery, I said this, he's going to the West.
Yep.
When you have a face of your franchise, you don't want to see them 4 times a year.
Yes. No,
you don't want them coming back in.
No. Of the top 8, 6 are Western Conference teams.
And it just got heavier as the Spurs won or got second in the lottery.
Yep.
That's what happened. It just went, you can basically say he's going in like a, 400 square mile radius between Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Houston.
Yeah. That doesn't.
If you gave me those 3 in the field, I'm taking those 3 and I'm putting a large sum of money on it.
Golly.
But back to the Eastern Conference.
16-1 for Portland. Worst odds. Minnesota, Philly, Phoenix, Sacramento, all 66-1.
Huh. I wouldn't have expected Minnesota to be on the list, but okay. Yeah, they don't have as much draft capital because they had to give up so much for Rudy. That makes sense.
Yep.
But back to the Eastern Conference and as it pertains to the Knicks. With Tatum's injury, the Celtics, if everyone else is healthy, they can win tonight. They can. They can push this to 6. I don't think they can win in 7. In fact, the books have Boston favored by 4.5, which you're probably going to get the rally the troops game.
But what does the rally the troops game look like when Kristaps Porzingis is still limited to under 20 minutes a game?
Yeah, you're looking at Jaylen Brown breaking out of his funk. You're looking at Pritchard having a game.
Actually,
Derek White
Pritchard playing significant minutes.
Yeah.
Joe Mazzulla's botched this series too, by the way.
No, look, Joe Maz is taking a little bit of heat. It's like, oh yeah, it turns out when you don't have 5 All-Stars all humming at once, it gets a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing about coaching, man, it's talent, man. It's Jimmy's and Joe's. But you've seen Derek White, you've seen Drew Holiday, you've seen Jaylen Brown, all perform at incredibly high levels in the highest leverage situations. It's not even like can they do it? It's like, yeah, they can do it. Yeah, we've seen this before. But what is the mentality? In talking to folks that cover the Celtics after that game in that locker room, they all said it was the quietest place they'd ever been, and rightfully so.
Yeah, Jason Tatum goes down with an Achilles. That's brutal.
Because it's not just this season; it's the state of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
He's out for a year. Guys, like it's only natural. You're sitting there contemplating your own future, your own mind of like, oh God, like if you're Al Horford, do you look at this and like, man, do I retire?
It's it. Al Horford has got, because you're hanging on because you are a valuable piece when you have so much talent around you.
If all of a sudden he's elevated 2 spots,
no,
it's like
that ain't it, boss.
Because he's already having to cover up for KP. Now he's going to have to pick up a little bit more slack for Tatum, and it's like. And we talked about this, that 2007 draft class, guys that are still going. The fact that he is still like 18 years of Al Horford and being so good and so productive. I'm really looking forward. I'm putting the tombstone on the Celtics tonight. Can they win? Yeah. I even think they probably will. But we're looking ahead to the Knicks and Pacers. And is that the new future of the East? When I asked you yesterday, do you think the Pacers can win a title?
No, I don't. But I will say that Detroit's going to have something to say about that because they are up and coming. So will Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland will, just because they are young, and we talk about this with Oklahoma City. You got to get your scars. We're seeing that with Detroit and Cleveland. Cleveland is showing you it for OKC this year. It ain't going to just magically turn a corner.
Takes a lot of luck.
Yep.
That's the thing that kind of comes out with that. Well, we had the NBA draft lottery. What about the NFL
I don't get
draft
this.
lottery? We'll get to that next. But first, here's the Big Kuno Sports Center update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
This is a PGA Championship Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on the Fan, a pair of elimination games tonight in the NBA playoffs. First up in Boston, it's the Celtics looking to force a Game 6 against the Knicks. No Jason Tatum. He had surgery yesterday on a ruptured Achilles tendon. 4 o'clock tip on TNT and Max. You can also catch it on 910 ESPN Portland. That coverage starts at 3:30. Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. Then the Timberwolves, 10.5-point favorites at home, trying to put away the Warriors, who are still without Steph Curry. 6:30 tip, also on TNT and Max. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Ravens and Derrick Henry agreeing on a 2-year, $30 million extension with $25 million guaranteed. It's the largest deal in league history for a running back over 30 years old. And a rubber match this afternoon for the Mariners and Yankees at T-Mobile Park, and it is currently, they're heading to the top of the 5th inning. Mariners with a 2-0 lead over the Bombers thanks to a 2-run double from Julio Rodriguez in the 3rd. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigart is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
that we just had, 2 months ago, was the same as the NBA draft lottery.
A couple weeks ago.
I said 2 months ago. 2 weeks ago. I'm a dummy. Excuse me. But if the NFL draft lottery or the NBA draft lottery was mimicked by the NFL, you would have seen the San Francisco 49ers pick number 1.
Yeah, no, this is dumb. And I don't know what ESPN, I know they're just trying to drum up conversation, but I don't know if the NFL's trying to float something or ESPN just wants to squeeze a little bit more money. But you got guys like Adam Schefter and Greeny going out there and saying the NFL would benefit from an NFL draft lottery. There's so many flaws with that.
They would financially, because you better believe everyone and their mom would tune into that.
That's the thing, is that ESPN just wants to squeeze a little bit more money, right? And they would make a killing off of having an NFL draft lottery.
Be an all-day event.
But you don't need it in the NFL.
It sorts itself out. It just does.
You don't need it because teams don't tank in the NFL. They just don't do it. You have teams that aren't very good and are poorly run, but we've known this from the NBA draft lottery, from the Major League draft lottery. In Major League Baseball, they had such a bad tanking issue that their lottery is
super protected.
Large market team, and you're in it back-to-back years, you're not getting in the top 10. You can only move up 10 slots in the Major League Baseball draft lottery. So the Mavericks would not have been able to do it, period. The NHL's draft lottery is a good TV show in the offseason. Other than that, that's it. Your offseason is so damn short anyways. The Super Bowl ends, in a week and a half later, you're at the scouting combine for the NFL draft. And then it's wall-to-wall coverage of what the draft is going to look like. And then 2 months after the Super Bowl happens, you have your draft is there waiting for you.
And not only that, the cyclical nature of the NFL does what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
It churns.
Yep.
Look, the Patriots notwithstanding, we haven't had a dynasty since the Steelers. You've had good runs from the Cowboys. You've had good
49ers in the 80s.
But I mean, for the most part, it's very cyclical and it's very hard to win multiple titles. It's just a difficult thing to do. Like, the reason the lottery became such a big deal, particularly in baseball and basketball, is because dynasties were running things.
Yep.
It was the Lakers forever, the Celtics forever. Then it was the Lakers forever. Then it was the Bulls, and then it was the Spurs. It was like, okay, like, we've got to make some changes here. And then you had the hinky 76ers that said, we've got to change everything that we do.
Yeah. I don't.
It's not the NFL is creating a problem to solve. And it's like, you don't need to. What you have right now, it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good.
The NFL has always been the teams that lack quarterback play are the ones that lose. It gets fixed because those teams get the top draft picks.
And because there's no position in sports that's more valuable than the quarterback. Yeah. If you don't have it, you keep ending up there over and over and over again. See the guy with the Browns jersey that has every single quarterback listed since the Browns came back to Cleveland.
Yup.
That is still one. That is one of, like, that jersey should be in the Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it really
as
should.
A story of, like, you wouldn't believe this unless you knew it to be true.
No,
because the number of names on the back of that jersey is insane.
That just goes to prove, though, it's not always the quarterback's fault. Baker Mayfield was there; they gave up on him. That is a dysfunctional organization. Yes. But I mean, full stop. It always has been, and it always will be.
And the lottery would put that dysfunctional organization in an even worse position.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the lottery is to save you from your own stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, the non-lottery. It saves you from your own stupidity. Because if you pick at the top enough, you should stumble into it.
Yep. And they can't because everything else is such a disaster. So I don't really get why this is a topic of conversation for people in ESPN's orbit, but it is, and it's one of those things that you just go. It feels like it's got some
juice behind it from the NFL.
It may, and that may be it. Is it may be a signal that they're just trying to say, how are people going to react to this? And it wouldn't be good for that is going to be a Earth
last year? $9 billion.
Be at 20 in 2025.
Oh, you're right. No, $9
billion.
Yeah.
That though, they're at $23 billion in revenue. I mean that's the
nuts.
power of the NFL, and that number is going to keep on climbing. And I wonder what the projected revenue is for 2025. Let's look that up.
25.
All right, let's go 20. How about 2030? We'll fast forward this thing.
I'm gonna say it's under 30.
Oh, I don't trust AI.
What did it say?
73.
Yeah, definitely not.
I don't trust that. NFL is projected to generate $73 billion.
Are they starting up another league in Europe?
Yeah, right. Wow, I don't think that's going to happen. But let's see where we're at there. Yeah. Well, the projection, Goodell wanted to get to 27 by 2020 or 25 by 2027.
That's going to happen.
They're going to lap. They're going to lap that. But I wonder what they'll be at once they actually get to 2030. I don't think it's going to be 73 billion.
No, I don't think so either. But while we're talking the sports business part of this, part of the NFL schedule release, this came out yesterday, and this is where a lot of that money comes from. YouTube will be the lone home for the kickoff game in Brazil. It will be the first standalone, wholly streamed game. You can't get it anywhere.
And it's not
else.
on YouTube TV. It's on straight up YouTube, right? That's dope.
I think YouTube
for
TV
free.
also.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, like,
yes,
but it's for free on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the amount of money YouTube must have paid for that has to be otherworldly. Because, I mean, you have this standalone game where all your eyes are on it and you're on another continent. That is just, then this is why the NFL is what the NFL is.
Yeah.
That's like, I know it doesn't sound that big, but it's pretty huge, and you understand why and the kind of the things are coming out of this. Yesterday afternoon, what?
You know what the most viewed live event on YouTube was?
No.
It would be Prince William's marriage to Catherine Middleton. In 2011, it achieved a record 72 million live views in 188 countries around the world.
I bet you they get close to that.
Dang. 72 million.
What was the Super Bowl? Was it 153?
Yeah.
It was more than, I think it was just under half of the population.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, though, is that the United States, we got so many people that are still reluctant to go and seek things out on the internet, though. 72 million would be, that's a tough number to get to, but everybody knows where YouTube is.
That's the thing, is it's not just YouTube TV, it's YouTube.
And it's no subscription. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how many they get for that.
Speaking of subscriptions, did you see what ESPN's doing?
Yeah, it's called ESPN. I'm glad. You know what? That's actually progress.
Because, hey, along these same lines, Max is HBO Max again. The branding that they had for 40 years with HBO, they're bringing back because they finally got it through somebody's thick skull at some VC firm.
So dumb.
That the HBO branding is better than something named after a dog.
It is progress that it's just called ESPN. The platform will be ESPN.
And for those wondering, it's a direct-to-consumer, straight up. It was $32.
$29.99, I thought.
Okay, but the $32.99 must have been like the whole inclusive.
But you
ESPN
just
Plus.
get all of ESPN's programming.
Yeah.
Now,
and I think that's the premium tier. I think there's a lower one for $19.99.
Of course, it's tiered. It's Disney.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We got one thing right, which is just calling it ESPN. We can't get everything right. All right. But this goes back to a la carte viewing,
which is hilarious because we're getting closer and closer to coming back to cable.
Yeah. But one of the big
it took
issues,
ESPN like 14 years to do this.
But one of the big issues that people have, though, is that, you know, when you pay your cable bill, you're paying for Telemundo and the Hallmark Channel and C-SPAN and
nobody wants C-SPAN.
BYU Network or whatever that is. That's on my cable, apparently. I don't want to watch any of that. I don't watch it. Well, my wife watches the Hallmark
Hallmark.
Channel, but that's a whole other story.
I would imagine all our wives do.
That should be free on YouTube, by the way.
She doesn't hit Hallmark. She's a big Bravo one, though.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's adjacent.
Yeah, Bravo. I don't need the Game Show Network. I don't know if I've ever watched the Game Show Network.
No. If I want to watch game show network type stuff, that's what YouTube's for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find the times when somebody really screwed up on Wheel of Fortune.
If I want to watch a classic episode of Family Feud where Richard Dawson is sexually harassing some guy's wife in front of that man,
I still like to channel surf.
Yeah, I can't have the apps on the remote, and you can flip the apps on the remote, and you can flip through them. Pretty damn convenient. And it boots up real quick. It doesn't make you like sign in, sign out as long as you're signed in through all of them.
Yeah, like our remote on our TV. It's got a Netflix button on there. It's got a Prime Video button. I'm trying to think of what else is there.
I'll tell you
maybe
what.
a Fandango.
I've been paralyzed by which app I'm going to enter. Like I'm just sitting there and looking at it like
it's not FOMO. It's the fear of the commitment.
Which one do I want to go to? Do I want to go to Max? Do I want to go to Apple TV? Do I want to go to Prime? Do I want to go to Peacock? Do I want to go to Netflix? I don't know. And then I just
don't
watch reruns of The Office.
Yep.
Like that's
the fallback.
Damn.
Like, all right, what's on TNT anyways?
You got me again.
Go watch Shawshank on TNT for the 1,000th time.
Still have never watched an entire episode of The Office. Not that I'm against it. Just
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, no. Haven't done it yet. I've probably seen like the entire episodes through like TikTok.
See, I've watched. Now that's a bridge further than even me, where I've seen a Star Wars.
Yeah, I've seen chunks.
The very first
of
one,
The Office. I love the what's the bell that hits Dwight Schrute. What's the experiment where they ring the bell?
The Pavlov.
Pavlov.
Stuff.
Yeah. The psychological treatment stuff. I've seen that skit 1,000 times on social media, but never seen the entire episode.
All right.
The outside. So there you go. All right, let's wrap up today's show with the news of the day that carried over from yesterday. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
It's
As we wrap up today's show, yesterday the big news was the Portland Trailblazers are hitting the market for the first time in 37 years. The Allen Estate has indeed put the Trailblazers up for sale. And today we get the first real bit of news as potential buyer Phil Knight has said he will no longer pursue a purchase of the Portland Trailblazers.
He says it's a young man's game, and 5 years ago he was still a young man.
And at 87 and not 82, that is the line of delineation.
Yeah, and I think the bummer in that is not that you had a long-term owner that you felt was going to be in place in Phil Knight, but it was somebody who cares about keeping a team here, cares about the region, is truly the only billionaire in our state that could afford to do this and do it the right way. We just don't have those people. Reality is that he would have been gone. The organization, all Allen's sole hands, then it cold his best friend. But with Phil, it's about basketball. And as we talked about yesterday, and we talked with Ben Golliver today about having somebody that not just cares about basketball, but is willing to let people that understand the game better than they do operate the team. But when you care, you want to win, and you hold those other people accountable. Investment portfolio folks that own teams, they don't do that.
No.
And that's the worst thing that can happen.
It's a bottom line, and that's the scary proposition. That's when everybody screams and yells about get Jody out of here. That's the terrifying thing that sits in the back of my mind, is that is a real possibility.
But I mean, we don't know if she really even cared either, though.
No. But I mean, saying
because we don't know nothing about her.
No, and that's the thing is to Golliver's point. I want somebody front and center. We didn't have time with him, but I wanted to ask, Pacers ownership ain't out there front and center. Neither the New York Knicks. You never hear from Jim Dolan. You never hear from.
Dolan was forced into that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm with Ben, but you can do it the other way too.
Yeah. All right. That'll do it for us today.
Indeed.
We gonna be back though tomorrow, from noon to 3, right here on the Fan.
Might even talk some golf.
Yeah, it is PGA Championship week. Soggy Quail Hollow. Up next, you got 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. It's prime time with Buck and Sook right here on the Fan.
Bye.
Summer is finally on its way, and now is the best time to spruce up your home. Is your bathroom stuck in a time warp? Old windows causing you a headache? Get a serious upgrade with YHIC, your home improvement company, during their Memorial Day sale starting now until May 31st. These guys can really transform your home, and here's how. They've got an unbeatable deal. 50% off your window purchase, plus free labor with a minimum of 4 windows. Let their summer breeze in with a deal that you just don't want to miss. Even better, for your bathroom, you can transform your space up to 20% off on a bathroom remodel. Plus, act now for up to an additional 10% off and free plumbing with qualifying purchases. Imagine turning your bathroom into a spa-like retreat. Act now. Call 503-837-2348 today to schedule your free in-home consultation. Whether it's windows, bathrooms, or both, now is the time. The Memorial Day sale runs now until May 31st, so don't miss out. No money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months. Let me repeat that. 50% off your window purchase with a